Greetings! In this video I will build a habitat in one of my South American franchise zoos for Australia's cutest animal, the quokka, while we learn interesting facts and informations about the animal in the usual way. The quokka belongs to the marsupial class, and within this the macropod family. Its scientific name is Setonix brachyurus, and it is the only member of the Setonix genus. The first European explorers thought it was a type of rat. The word quokka probably originates from the word quokka of the Nyungar people. The Nyungar or Noongar people are one of Australia's Aboriginal peoples native to southwestern Australia, and today the quokka is called by them as Bangup, Bungup or Quokka. The quokka's range is a small area of southwestern Australia and a few smaller islands on the coast of Western Australia, particularly Rottnest Island near Perth and Bald Island near Albany. Isolated, scattered populations also exist in the forests and coastal barrens between Perth and Albany. A small colony lives in the protected area of Two Peoples Bay Nature Reserve, where they coexist with the critically endangered Gilbert's potoroe, which is also the most endangered marsupial in Australia and the rarest marsupial in the world. In 1658, the Dutch sailor Samuel Walkerzoon was the first to write about it, namely that he saw a wild cat on the island then called Vadjemup in the southwestern part of Australia. In 1696, the Dutch explorer Willem de Vlaming saw the animals as giant rats, so he renamed Vadjemup Island to Rat's Nest Island, or Thailand Rotnest in Dutch. Thus the new name Rottnest Island. During the Pleistocene, quokkas were more abundant and lived in open landscapes. When Europeans arrived in Australia, they introduced new species, some of which became predators of the quokkas, forcing the quokkas back to the islands and forests, where there were minimal predators and more vegetation. This is the reason why populations in the wild today are restricted to only a small part of the southwestern part of Western Australia, with numerous small scattered populations. In the 20th century, between 1930 and 1990, quokka populations declined by 50%, and their territories were also reduced to less than half. Logging, agricultural development and housing expansions have reduced their habitat, contributing to the species' demise, as has the clearing and burning of remaining marshes. In areas where predators such as dingoes, birds of prey and introduced red foxes, dogs and cats are a threat, they require dense ground vegetation to seek shelter. The islands are free from these predators, and for this reason at Rottnest, quokkas are common and occupy many types of habitats, from semi-arid scrubs to cultivated gardens. They are nocturnal animals. Their favorite daytime shelters are the spiky Acanthocarpus plants, as they are impenetrable to larger predators and humans. The length of the cutest marsupial is between 40 and 55 centimeters. Its thin tail is 25–30 centimeters, while its weight can be between 2.5 and 5 kilograms. Its grayish-brown fur is dense and relatively strong, and underneath there is a short and soft woolly fur. There is little fur on its tail, and like other animals, it stores its reserves here in the form of fat. It has small round ears and sharp claws, with which it digs holes in the ground, and although being a kangaroo, it can also climb trees and shrubs, up to a height of 1.5 meters. It protects its body from overheating by licking its front and back legs. tail and belly until the saliva drenches them and cools by evaporation. Quokkas live in small family groups. These groups on the mainland usually do not reach 50 individuals, but on Rottnest Island they can be much larger, reaching groups of up to 150 individuals. Now that's quite a large family, I think. The groups usually unite near water, food sources and shelters. Their territories are larger in the dry season, depending on the amount of food, but they return to the same resting place every day. Dominant males fight each other for these resting places, and dominance is mainly determined by their body size. Their diet consists of plants, which can be succulents, shrubs, grasses and sedges, and since their leaves contain water, with this they compensate for part of their water needs, that is, they drink little every year. They also eat seeds, berries and fruits. They do not care about the saying that you can eat something once, because they swallow the food without chewing at first, then at a later time they regurgitate it and only then chew it. Mating season is between January and March, when the weather is cooler. When the time comes, the females decide which male they want to mate with, and if the suitor does not suit the female, it runs away from that and throws itself into the arms of another. If a female accepts a male, it starts grooming it, and they usually stay together for 2 mating seasons. While females usually choose between 1 and 3 males, males range up to 5 females. Females generally tend to avoid each other. Gestation lasts for about 1 month. After birth, the single cub moves to the pouch where it stays for 6 months and feeds on the mother's milk. Then leaves the pouch but continues feeding with milk for another 2 months. After which weaning follows and the young individuals reach sexual maturity at 10-12 months. Now let us return a bit to the time of birth. After the offspring is born, the mother mates again and an embryonic diapause occurs, meaning the new embryo remains in hibernation for about 5 months. At this time, the mother's body can detect whether the previous cub survived the last period. If so, the second embryo disintegrates, but if the first one dies, the second one implants and begins to develop. The male does not participate in childcare, but usually protects the female after mating if the female is pregnant. If the male is unable to protect the female when attacked by a predator, Australia's cutest marsupial will drop its offspring to the ground to occupy the attacker while she escapes. Ain't that cute? Well, it doesn't literally drop it, but relaxes the pouch muscles and the little one falls out. The quokka lives about 10 years in the wild, but can live up to 14 years in captivity. A study found that mainland populations prefer to live in areas with average annual rainfall between 700 and 1000 millimeters, which is becoming less common in southwestern Australia as aridity increases. There are an estimated 4,000 quokkas living on the mainland, and almost all of those populations are groups of less than 50 individuals. Although there is a group of more than 700 individuals in the forest between 2 towns in Western Australia, Nannup and Denmark. In 2015, an extensive bushfire near Northcliffe nearly wiped out one of the local mainland populations, killing an estimated 90% of the approximately 500 quokkas living there. The Rottnest Island population was estimated in 2007 to be between 8,000 and 12,000. The only predators of quokkas on the island are snakes. In late summer and fall, populations on the island decline as the vegetation dies and there is little food left, and the water sources dwindle, causing many quokkas to starve. On Bold Island, which is smaller than Rottnest Island, and the quokkas have no predators, the population is around 600 and 1000 individuals. Although it is not in direct danger of extinction, due to climate change and because humans are no longer able to move to more abundant areas and their food sources and shelters are dangerously reduced, the International Union of Conservation for Nature has classified the species as vulnerable. Evaluating the results of the study mentioned earlier, the scientists believe that rising temperatures also play an important role in the distribution of the quokkas, as the average annual temperature has increased exponentially since the 1970s in the southwestern part of Western Australia. Although quokkas usually don't socialize with each other, the population on Rottnest Island in particular has been conquered by social media to such an extent that these little cuties are happy to take pictures with people, smiling nicely. But if they don't get the reward snack, and especially if they feel threatened, they can bite heroic selfie takers, especially children. Well, what can I say? We have already seen that the young are secondary to them. Also, the authorities do not recommend feeding them with food made for human consumption, which personally I think lately is also harmful for humans, as it can make the animals sick and the authorities can fine the offender $300. And then you can still hope it won't count as animal cruelty, as the penalty for that is $50,000 and 5 years in prison. In the mid-2020s, quokkas became known on the internet as the happiest animals in the world and symbols of positivity, because their cute little faces look like they are smiling when taking a selfie. But it's not a smile, it just looks like that because of their facial hair. This custom was mainly spread by celebrities, and since then tourism on Rottnest Island has boomed, and as expected, everyone wants to take a photo with a quokka green. According to some research, people can also get into trouble due to reverse giving. For example, when the quokkas give to humans, as the rate of salmonella infection in these animals is high, especially in the heat of summer. However, as far as I know, no salmonella infections from quokkas have yet been recorded. Quokkas can be seen in many zoos and wildlife parks around Australia, but these places do not allow interaction with the cuties without the permission of the staff. I must admit, I am not in danger of a quokka bite yet, as I don't see myself around Rottnest Island anytime soon. But if you ever get there, please send me a photo. In consideration of your physical health, you don't have to take the selfies from up close. Thanks in advance. The site has membership where you can join and receive rewards. For example, there are videos that can only be viewed by members, and all videos are also available to members earlier. In addition, by joining, you support me in making more videos like this. By the way, you will also get a t-shirt in time. Thanks again to the members who have already joined for their support. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and read news and interesting facts about animals also on the website www.planetzoo.hu, mostly written by Christian, one of the members of my channel. Press the like button and be sure to subscribe. Have a smiling day!